What's up, YouTube? So in this video, I'm going to be ranking all the notable quarterbacks in the NFL currently into tiers. Now, obviously, there is more than 32 quarterbacks here, but that's because, in cases, like New England with Cam and Mac Jones, you're probably going to see both of them start at some point in the year. Cam will probably start week 1, and Mac Jones probably take over at some point. So I have situations like that. I don't have like straight up backups here, but any quarterback I expect to start, like barring injury or anything like that. So yeah, and I do also have them all broken down by division as well. So we will be starting with the AFC North first. Ben Roethlisberger. Also, this is important too. I'm not talking about them as far as their career goes, because obviously Ben Roethlisberger has had one of the best careers out of the people here. Besides people like Tom and actually that might be about it. Might just and Rodgers, but we're talking about right now, and right now Ben Roethlisberger's arm is deteriorating. His accuracy's never been great, but it's gotten worse in my opinion. He's not the mobile guy that he used to be. He got himself beat the fuck up his whole career. A lot of that was because of his own play style, though. I mean, that wasn't even really necessarily completely on the Steelers, but it just is what it is. And now their offensive line is terrible. They lost James Conner, so their running back situation is, well, they do have Najee Harris now, so that's actually probably an upgrade. But with the offensive line, I don't really see how that's going to help much. And their receiving core isn't amazing either. Juju Smith-Schuster is a pretty solid number 2, but they don't have a number 1. And they have a bunch of other receivers who can't seem to catch the ball consistently. Deontay Johnson, James Washington, they can't seem to really hang on to the ball consistently. So those are definitely issues as well. And with how bad the team is in combination of how Ben is deteriorating, I am going to have to put him at an F, which kind of is unfortunate. It just is what it is. Also, I do want to specify real quick that this ranking is relative to each other. So obviously, no quarterback in the NFL is going to be an F in comparison to like a random dude off the street or a high school quarterback. Obviously, they're better than that. But in comparison to each other, that's what this ranking is based off of. I feel like most of you probably understand that, but there's going to be some people that don't. So, figured I'd explain that. Joe Burrow, his team drafted pretty decently this year. They got him a little bit more protection, which is really, really good. And they also got him not Chase Young, Jamar Chase in the draft as well. Receiver he's obviously familiar with. He was actually playing really good until his injury last year. But I think the team still has a little bit to go. I'm going to go with C. And this is based on how good I think they will do. Not necessarily how I think the team will do as a whole. But obviously your offensive line and your weapons go into how good you're going to do. And to an extent, so does your defense, really. But, yeah. Baker Mayfield, I mean, he's going to have Odell Beckham back, but it almost seemed in a weird way that they did better without him. But, I put him at a C, because I think he is like a pretty average quarterback right now. It's just that his weapons are crazy. So I feel like that's a pretty good ranking for him. Lamar Jackson, same thing. His legs are still really, really dangerous regardless. Baltimore's defense is really good. They improved the weapons that he has and stuff like that. So I feel like he should be right around C for me. His passing isn't consistent enough for me to put him higher, but I can't put him any lower either. Josh Allen, I'll put it like a B right now. He had a really, really good season last year, but I need to see him do that a little bit longer before I can put him higher than this. I mean, obviously, he probably has the best arm strength in the league at this point. There's a couple people that give him contention. Obviously, Mahomes is up there. Stafford's still pretty up there as far as arm strength goes. But I think I'd probably give it to Josh at this point. If it's just straight arm strength, the athleticism's there. His decision and accuracy really took a step in the right direction last year. I just need to see him continue to do those things before I can put him any higher. Zach Wilson for the Jets, rookie. Now, the Jets' situation is pretty rough around him. The weapons are pretty limited. They actually did draft pretty decently. O-line is really actually starting to shape up. I think I'll put him around the seat. Now, I do think he will develop into being an amazing quarterback. He was my quarterback 1. At least in my rankings, over Trevor Lawrence. I didn't expect him to get drafted first, and he wasn't. But I do think he will be a really good quarterback eventually, as long as the Jets help him do so. But as of now, I think a C is probably good for him. Cam Newton, the Patriots' weapons. Until he proves me otherwise, I gotta put him in F. He is still athletic, but he's not as athletic as he once was. Similar to Ben, he's taken a beating over his career because of his own play style. And last year, New England had to find any excuse to not have to throw the football. Now, a part of that was because his receiving core was terrible, but it still kind of is. They did go and get some people to help with that, but I need to see Cam do more with New England for me to, be able to put him higher. Mac Jones, I'll put it a D for now. I do think he will be a step up above Cam in the passing game for sure. I think his decision making is better. His arm isn't as good as Cam even now, but again, I think the things around him are still a little bit on the limited side. But I do think he will be a step above Cam for sure, and I think he can develop to be better than that. But I just don't know about this year. Tua. Now I expect our defense to be really, really good this year, like it was last year. We've only added to it. Now Xavier Howard kind of throws some questions in there for sure. Whether he's going to play or not, but I still think our defense is going to be really solid. We obviously improved our receiving core quite a bit, adding Jalen Waddle and Will Fuller. So that helps. The offensive line should be a little bit better with Liam Eichenberg. But I think we did get worse at center. Still no real running backs. I'll put him at a C. I was debating between C and D until he proves otherwise, but I think I'll put him at C. He was a conservative passer last year, and I still think he will be because that's his style, but hopefully he does learn to process the field a little bit quicker. I think those are the things that he really needs to work on. I don't know if I can justify putting him there. Nah, I can't. Again, also the offensive line really drags him down right now too, unfortunately. I am a Dolphins fan, by the way, just in case this is the first video you're seeing from me. That's why it was like a debate in my head. But I think Tua could be high, not here this year, but I think he could get higher. I just need to see a little bit more from him before I can justify putting him higher. I do believe in his development. It's just, where is he right now? And like I said, I'm still not confident in our offensive line. I think it should be better than last year, hopefully, by default. But, I mean, Jesse Davis isn't starting. We got Saul McKinley and Robert Hunt as our guards. Austin Jackson, who I don't like, at left tackle. And then Liam at right tackle, and our center situation's awful. So, I don't know. Justin Herbert, I'll put it C. He still has quite a bit of. Still has a bunch of weapons. His decision making could improve a little bit too. I know a lot of people were pretty much talking about him like he had the perfect rookie season. That's just not the case. He had a good rookie season, but his decision making was still questionable. He was just kind of trusting his athleticism and arm strength, and he had such a superior weapon class over Tua. So that just kind of was what it was. And then Joe Burrow obviously got hurt. So, yeah, Mahomes, yes, obviously. He is, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the NFL. And no one really touches him right now. It just is what it is. It's possible that he might be the only S tier for me. There might be one other. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. But obviously with the weapons he has around him, a new revamped offensive line, I don't see why he should be anything but S. Obviously Drew Lock S, no. Denver still is lacking a lot of the things to help them out. Drew Lock is pretty bad. I guess I can put. No, I'll talk about them one at a time. Yeah, I will. Now his arm strength is pretty good. And it's better than their other quarterback, which is Teddy Bridgewater. But again, the decision making and the accuracy is pretty bad. I do think Teddy will be a step up. So I'll put Teddy in D, but I just think with what's around them, I think John Elway has pretty much built a pretty bad team right now. Yeah. Derek Carr. I did put Mariota there just because I know that there are some fans out there that after what Mariota did when Carr went down, they wanted him to start. I don't think that should be the case, but I figured I'd include him just in case. Derek Carr. The Raiders, new weapons and stuff. C, still. He'd be kind of like this for me, kind of like a C plus, B minus, but I don't really have that in my ranking system. So I'll put him at C for now. Mariota is a D. The Raiders have a better offensive line and better weapons than a lot of the other teams I've talked about so far. So that kind of helps them both out. I mean, no. Mariota would be more like this. Like a D minus. But him being next to Teddy, I guess, makes sense. Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville doesn't really have a lot in the receiving core right now. Offensive line is okay. Running back group is pretty good. I'll put him in C for now, I suppose. Next is Zach. Again, I think he will climb because I love him and Zach Wilson. I think they're both really, really good players. So, we'll see them continue to climb. Carson Wentz, C until proven otherwise. I think he could very easily move down or up all the way. The Colts obviously have quite a bit around him. They have a good offensive line, good running back group. Receiving core is solid at the very least. And I do think that Carson Wentz can be a decent quarterback. It's just he's got to rein in the decision making quite a bit if he wants to do that. So we'll see. Tyrod Taylor, who is now on the Texans and is looking to be their starting quarterback. The Texans are an absolute dumpster fire. Their receiving core sucks. Running back group pretty bad at this point. David Johnson's old. Their offensive line is atrocious. Deshaun Watson probably isn't going to play, at least this year, possibly ever again. We'll see. I don't really want to get into that, but I'm going to put both their quarterbacks here. Because they also did draft Davis Mills with the first pick that they had, which was in the 3rd round. I think Tyrod will be a little bit better than Davis Mills. He'd be like an F+. But I can't really put him next to these guys. Just because of what's around him, too. I think Tyrod Taylor's probably better than Mariota, or at least right around the same area. But, hang on. Sorry about that. But yeah, I think Tyrod Taylor is kind of right there with Mariota. Like I said, I was wanting to put him at like a D-. But it's just the tools that they have around them that separates them. So the last quarterback of the AFC, Ryan Tannehill. With where the Titans are, I'll put him at B. He's been playing fairly well. He's been doing what he needs to do for the Titans, and I think he could do a little bit more this year. They added to the weapons. They added to the offensive line a little bit, so we'll see. Moving to the NFC. Andy Dalton, who's likely to start the beginning of the season. I don't like Andy Dalton at all, especially right now. He used to be like a pretty average quarterback, but he's really bad now. Like, he's bad. The Bears do have some weapons around him, actually. It's just that Mitch Trubisky really wasn't capitalizing. I really like David Montgomery, their running back. I think they have some receivers that are interesting. Their offensive line's okay. Defense is really good. So, I think they can be really successful. And I think Justin Fields... I think out of the rookies, he probably has the best chance to succeed. Maybe him and Mac Jones, depending on how New England is. Just because of the pieces around them right now. Okay, so Jared Goff is on the Lions. The Lions are pretty much a dumpster fire, but they did draft really, really well this year. But I think he's a C quarterback. That just is what it is. He's pretty average arm, average decision making. If you rush him, he really kind of panics. If you want proof of that, go ahead and watch my my film breakdowns from during the season. What I wanted to do to the Rams before we played them, and then what happened against the Rams. So, Kirk Cousins, same thing. Very average quarterback, but pretty decent. He has better weapons than Goff. And, I mean, obviously, most of them are going to be in C. That is the average, right? So, it makes sense. Kellen Mond, I think, is terrible. I don't like Kellen Mond at all. I think he's a terrible quarterback. So, Rodgers, I don't know if Rodgers is even going to play. But I will still put him at S. Actually, there is at least one other S, now to think about it. Maybe two. But if he does decide to play, I'll put him here. Hopefully, everything that he's done isn't like a distraction if he comes back. But we'll see. Jordan Love, I'm going to put him at D. The Packers' weapons really aren't amazing. Neither is their offensive line or anything like that. It's just that Aaron Rodgers makes them look better than they are. And I think Jordan Love has a lot to prove. So, D kind of makes sense for me for him. Dak Prescott. Dak, I'm going to put in A because I can't justify putting him next to Rodgers and Mahomes. But he's done it a little bit more consistently than Josh Allen, and he's just better than Tannehill in my opinion. I know a lot of people hate on the Dallas Cowboys, and a lot of people, talk shit about Dak, but I think he actually is a very, very good quarterback. I think his mental processing and leadership qualities are very good. The Cowboys have a bunch of weapons: Zeke, Pollard, Lamb, Cooper, Gallup. Like, even Blake Jarwin's not bad as a tight end. Like, next to those guys, their offensive line was really bad last year, but that's because they lost like their entire offensive line. It's all going to be back this year. So, Tyron will probably go down at some point, but it's hard to have a good offensive line when all of your starters and a bunch of your backups go down. Like, it doesn't matter how well you build your team. You're not prepared for that. You're just not. So, I do think he'll bounce back even after the broken leg, and I think he'll play really well. Jalen Hurts. I don't like Jalen Hurts much. I'll put him at D. Eagles have some interesting weapons for him, but I think his decision-making is really bad. But I imagine that the Eagles won't really make him make too many decisions. So, Fitzpatrick. Same. But I'm in the same pair. Washington does have some weapons for him. People like Terry McLaurin. Gibson's starting to look like he was going to shape up into a good running back before he got hurt last year. So I want to see what happens there. Their defense is really, really solid, so I think that could help them. And, of course, I love Ryan Fitzpatrick. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that. So, just because of his time with Miami. Daniel Jones, I think Daniel Jones is bad. I think Daniel Jones is a terrible quarterback, but that's just me. Kyler Murray, I'll put him B. I think he has a lot of potential. And he really showed flashes of it last year, but he does need to get more consistent with the decision making. His accuracy is actually not terrible. It's mostly the decision making that throws that off. So he does need to work on that. So Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, is pretty bad. I think D makes sense for him. Trey Lance, I'll put in C, and I'll talk about both of them. I think Trey Lance is better than Jimmy Garoppolo right away, but Jimmy will probably at least start the season. I don't know. It sounds like their plan is to start Jimmy this season and then kind of groom Trey under him, which makes sense because Trey is pretty raw. But I do think he has a superior arm, accuracy, obviously better athleticism, but some of the decision-making does need to be worked on. But I just think that Garoppolo has an average arm, average athleticism. His decision-making is not that great either. You can pressure him into making some stupid decisions. I'm just not a big fan of him. So Russell Wilson's an S for me. Despite the circus, he has some pretty good receivers. His offensive line is still terrible, but it has been for the majority of his career at this point. So it doesn't really seem to hurt him too much. So it just kind of is what it is there. Stafford with the Rams. Now, the Rams have a pretty good team around him. And I'm actually kind of excited to see Stafford with a good team. I'll put him at B. Because I do think right now he's above all these people. And I think putting him next to Tannehill kind of makes sense. I'll even do this. Because I think Josh Allen's like right there. But I think Stafford has one of the strongest arms in the league, even still. He's very accurate. Decision making is actually okay. It's just the weapons and the things around him in Detroit were so terrible. Now Sean McVay actually has a competent quarterback who can actually push the ball downfield. So I think this could be a really good matchup for them. Now Tom Brady. And again, as I talked about with Ben, I'm not talking about their career. If I could do this, I would. Like A+, but not quite S. You know? Because career-wise, he's better than all these guys, obviously. But if we're talking about right now, I'll put him at A. I'll put him at A. But I'll do this. Right? His defense is so good, and their weapons around them are so good that he's going to be amazing. Just like last year. And I'm not saying he was just carried by the people around him, because Tom was very, very good, but there were some games where he didn't actually look that great last year. He did turn it on at the end of the year, but which is when it matters. But I don't know. I think right now, I don't think he's as good as he once was. Now we'll see. Second year in Bruce Arians' system, because that could have been it too. He started figuring out the system later in the season. That's why he took off. But we'll just kind of have to see how that goes. Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill, they have the Saints offense, which is pretty solid. So D, F. I think Jameis, with what's around him on the Saints, I think he can be a pretty good quarterback. Taysom Hill possibly could be too, but I just need to see him actually play the quarterback position a little bit more before I can really determine that. But I have an idea what Jameis can do, and I think D makes a lot of sense for him. I also think him putting him with Ryan Fitzpatrick probably makes sense too. So Matt Ryan is a B. He's still got some weapons around him. Still got a okay offensive line. Running back system is pretty bad, but he's been consistent his whole career, pretty much. So Sam Darnold, I'll put it D for now, but I think he could climb. I do think that he is a talented quarterback. I just think that the Jets were such a terrible organization that he couldn't shine. I think that if he continues to improve with the Carolina Panthers, I think he definitely could, be in like B tier eventually. But he has to prove that to me first. So yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, I appreciate hitting that like button. If you have any questions or comments, hit in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.